All right, guys, here we are for another fight study of George Benton versus Jonny Smith. Admittedly, I don't know a lot about or anything about Jonny Smith, but let's look at the great George Benton, one of the greatest defensive fighters and one of the masterminds behind a lot of Pernell Whitaker's success and Evander Holyfield's success as pros, as well as Meldrick Taylor. You can see him as the older black gentleman in the corner with Lou Duva, and excellent coach, but also an excellent fighter as well, and one of the true practitioners of great boxing defense. So let's watch this fight. We're going to watch this fight first, though, in slow motion, because that's going to allow us to see all the nuances. And don't worry, the fight is not long. It's a KO in 2 rounds. All right, so let's get into it. All right, now Benton is in the black trunks. You see he got caught with a jab. His timing on his catch was not perfect, but you'll see it's pretty perfect most of the time. Now watch his general position. His general position, his weight is more so most of the time on the back foot. All right, so important thing to note there. Think about that. Your command center, which is your head, right? The most important thing of your body is back a little bit. It's not forward. If it's forward, you're susceptible to uppercuts more so. But also, the thing that you don't want to get hit is up in front. And unless you're trying to bait something, there's no reason to have it there. Now, what I want you to focus on is the way Benton is relaxed, but also with that beautiful catching defense. Now, to be clear, it's not a parry, as you'll see there. Now, it might be easy for you to think, and not that it sometimes doesn't get swiped a little bit, but a parry typically is more of a swipe motion. A catch, in the more traditional sense, is more of it hitting the glove. He's coming across that far. Why? Because he is that sided up. All right? And you'll notice that the punch does not actually get deflected. All right? Now also with the parry type motion, what does it leave you more open to when you do more of a brush swipe type motion? It opens you up more for the hook, which both these gentlemen do get touched by that shot, but not very much because they are not swiping it to the side. They are catching it in front, and it's coming all the way from here across. So it's that type of motion of a swipe, but it's not swiping the punch and trying to time it. Because let me tell you also from experience, trying to brush punches or parry punches, you can do it, but it's also very challenging to do. And the catch is a little bit more of a basic move. Maybe open up a can of worms of debate, but that's okay. I'm happy to do it. Great slip to the rear side. He slips a lot to the rear side. And see that rear hand was back on the side again to block the hooks. So excellent job, because remember, the rear hand does about 80% of the defensive work. And you might be thinking, again, it's a swipe motion. It's not. It's a flipping the wrist and catching motion, catching it on the palm of the opened glove. As you see as well with Jonny Smith, his glove is open as well, his right glove. Both gloves are, but wide open to catch the punch. That was a good example, again, of a perfect catch from that sided up position with the weight a little bit on the back of the foot. Catching and intercepting the punch. Also, you can catch a right hand from that position. Benton shoulder rolls the majority of the right hands here, if not all of them. But you see that it could intercept that punch. Remember, the more squared up you are, the less that hand has to move across. The more sided up you are, the more the hand has to move across to the left side to fill up that alleyway of the straight shots. Now you see there, Jonny just did a feint, trying to get Benton to react, but the key is look how little Benton's reactions are. He's not overreacting. That's why he's an elite level fighter, because the moves, you're talking just a couple inches. Beautiful slip to the inside, changing up what he's doing. Wasn't able to land off of it, but still a beautiful move and setup. And that's how important it is to change which side you're slipping on. Benton gets away with slipping on the rear side over and over again. Good example there too of Benton leaning back a little bit. See that? Or quite a lot. Not so much he's drastically off balance or falling backwards, but again, taking his head out of the fight. Don't have your head in the fight. You want to have your focus on the fight, but don't have your head closer to their fists. You'll see again utilizing feints, dropping levels a little bit, catching, opening that glove. And again, he doesn't just stick it in front. He has it catched. That was a good slip right there. So throwing off of his defensive position, slip, body shot, step back, hook, catches Jonny trying to rush in on him. And again, watch for Benton's very small reactions. The little feint move of the right hand, which is him looking to catch, him quickly about to, oh, something's about to come, not quite. Very little overcommitment in this fight by Benton with anything. And again, beautiful catch exemplified right there. Right there on the glove, hard to see, but caught right on the glove. Beautiful position, sided up. Excellent. You see how Benton's nice and relaxed. That lead hand is low, but it's not crazy low. And he's able to jab off of that position, obviously. One thing you'll notice in this fight when we watch a little bit more full speed is Benton's slight delay on his jab. That was a great catch, roll the right hand. Catch a jab, roll the right hand. Jonny wanted to come back with the 3, but George was out of range for the 3. A little bit later, Jonny tries to come back with that 3. Now, there's a good example there where Jonny tries to feint him, and it's a jab, and Benton drops down, but then steps out a little bit. And again, because he has his head outside of the fight a little bit more so, that's an easier thing to recover from. Watch from the side. So, feint, drop. His head is not over his lead foot, it's behind his lead foot, so therefore it's a little bit hard to hit, and see now it's even further back, with that hook, which hits George's glove, not his head, because of that positioning of the weight being a little bit more backwards versus forward. If he was front foot heavy, or had his head on his front foot heavy, he could get caught by a feint like that. That's something where slipping to your rear side, you do want to keep the weight back, and generally not come forward with anything you do, leading with the head. Again, you see him utilizing the shoulder, everything else, and not overreacting to anything. Watch his feet, how he's creeping in the back foot under him to get himself closer without being very apparent with it. Another example right there of a beautiful half-time. It looks like a jab and a catch same time. Classic move that we teach all the time that you need to know as a fighter is to be able to catch a jab and throw a jab at the same exact time. But it's actually a little bit of a half-time difference here. Watch. Boom, bop. That, even in slow motion, it's half-timed. That's that beautiful little off-rhythm set there. Boom, bop. See that? And in slow motion. Crazy as far as this variability of timing. Being able to throw, on rhythm, off rhythm, and all those things add up to help you be a more complete fighter. Beautiful catching again. And again, something to note as well is the very relaxed nature of Benton. He's flat-footed, but it doesn't mean he's flat-footed in the pejorative sense that he's not doing any movement when it's needed. Now, he looked to set up a 3-2 off of that, and Jonny did a good job stopping it. Because why? Because of Jonny's method of catching the jab. Jonny doesn't have a lot of ways to defend a jab, rather. He's just catching a jab, which is super important, super basic, and the most basic and most important way to stop a jab, the way that we teach all of our beginners to do so. But it can be used against you if that's all you do. You want to have about 5 ways to defend every single punch. So George can see that Jonny's doing this over and over again. So what does he look to get? He looks to get, when that hand's coming across to catch a jab like we're talking about, what does that open you up for? It opens you up for the 3, the left hook. And it's hard to tell. Film's so horrible, isn't it? But doesn't quite get it. And Jonny does a good job of stopping that right hand afterwards. So good on Jonny's part right there. And then George is back to relaxation. See that little flick catch? Beautiful. Again, another example of a catching the jab, rolling with the shoulder. Little half step back too as well when he wants to. Ready to block the hook and ready to roll the right hand afterwards. And again, with his weight backwards, he was not vulnerable to the uppercut. See, jab, and his weight was back a little bit, uppercut goes in front of his face, and the left hook was not clean. If he was falling with his head over his lead foot, rather, he would get caught by that uppercut. Again, little example again of what I'm talking about. Watch his right hand. Boom, boom, boom. See that? Watch it again. Boom, boom, boom. Again, someone that doesn't know much about boxing thinks he's trying to parry punches. Someone that doesn't know something about boxing knows that he's just going from the side position in front to get it to where it needs to be. You need to be able to practice this, or rather, you need to practice this when you shadow box. Of the quicker you can get this, the harder you'll be to hit, and the harder it will be to exploit your catching attempt. The slower you are at this, the slower that you will react to a jab coming out, but also the quicker you can be caught by a hook. But if you think a shot's coming, being able to almost go with the feint a little bit, not overcommit it, but go with the feint. Oh, you think the jab's coming? Snapping it back, snapping it back. It wasn't the time. Then you got it on the right time. And then George with his jab again. Jonny as well. See how much both these men are utilizing their jab. Obviously, we all know why. Think about we haven't seen Jonny use much head movement. Again, he's a little bit more straight up and down style fighter. See Jonny trying to catch. Caught the jab by Benton. Returned the jab back. One thing that could be utilized more by both men is double jabs. Good attempt on the 1-3. The 1-3 did not land, though, because George had his weight backwards. Now, something as well to note, because I was just talking to someone about this. When you lean back, it's easy to want to have your chin come up, but watch how Benton's chin does not come up at all. Boom, leans back, chin is still down, so it's not a very clean shot. If the chin was up, it might have been a very clean shot. Good jab to the body right there. You'll see in a moment, George also jabs for the chest as well. And there, Jonny jabs for the chest. That's something as well you'll see Jonny do a couple times. He'll start jabbing down for where George is going, which is a good move because George is continually leaning on that right side a little bit, just a little too much in my opinion. Beautiful jab for the chest right there. Good to change up your targets with the jab. Remember that always. That is a beautiful punch right there in amateur boxing. That's supposed to score. And in pro boxing, that's controlling somebody. So you watch there. Jonny shooting down a little bit low for George. Feint. Tried the hook on it. See, he's trying to exploit the defensive tactics of Georgie Benton. But Georgie Benton is a little bit too refined to be exploited. Remember, the tactic might not be wrong. Maybe your execution of the tactic might be wrong. I know a lot of people, or rather some people, that they disperse or dispense with learning proper hand defense because they don't master it well enough for it to be actually useful, and they'll dispense with it and focus on just head movement and things like that and not develop their full repertoire as a fighter. Again, you need about 5 ways to stop punches, and hand defense is one of the 5. A few different hand defensive tactics. Again, there we go. There was a good example there of Jonny doing what he should be doing, which is jabbing down for where he's going. Also as well, I would definitely be a proponent of when George slips past the jab to control George with that arm, if I was Jonny's coach in this fight. Good little step back by Benton. See him kind of creeping back in. And something really big to note about that creep right there. So see that? So see where the head is back, which creates the illusion that George is further away than he actually is. But according to his feet position, he's relatively close. He's definitely in attack position. But if his head was at the center of those 2 legs, in between the 2 legs, he would be about, let's say, 6 inches closer than he is right now. And so he looks 6 inches further away, which allows him to mount attacks. All right, so very important thing you need to know as a fighter, short fighter, tall fighter, medium-sized fighter, is being able to be closer than you actually appear, which is by having that kind of kicked out lead leg, sat back on the rear leg, allows you to be more defensively responsible and inch you close enough to launch attacks and not let your guy know that you're close enough to launch attacks unless he looks down at your lead leg. Now that was an example of Jonny overcommitting to a catch. So he reaching out almost all the way to the hand. It happens. But you want to try to train to not do that. Good little head feints or movement of the upper body by Benton. And that was nice by Johnny there. So it was a double jab, and boom. And now again, like I talked about earlier, not enough guys are double jabbing, triple jabbing, and there Johnny does it. He has success with it. Good slip pass with a jab by Benton. One thing you notice with that is, let's watch that again here. See, Johnny's reaching out for it. That's dangerous. Watch Johnny reach out for that catch. Whew, all the way to the hand almost. No good. No good. Let's watch that slip again, though, by George. Watch George slip in. Boom. Slips in, brings the back foot. That's another thing, too. A lot of people, when they slip with a jab, they don't bring their back foot. George does it, though. Boom. Brings that back foot on the slip with the jab. Beautiful catching again. The second here, you'll see a great counter by George Benton. Remember, we're only in round 2 of this fight. Slip. Oh, not yet. Excuse me. But see, he was ready to stop the hook because it's not the tactic that's the problem, it's your execution of it. He's able to catch with that hand and snap it right back. See little feints by Johnny. Dropping levels. Good jab. That jab was almost like a delayed jab, and that's something, again, that you need to master as a boxer, is being able to almost have a slight delay. Because think about it, if you can get your jab to look like it's about to start and then shoot it, here's that slip, I think. And not yet. Anyway, if you can get that jab to look like it's about to start, get them to react with a defensive maneuver for the jab, and then the jab's en route now after they thought it was already coming, it's a great way to land a shot. So kind of almost a slight hesitation on the delivery, and that changes the timing of it. Good jab again. Slip, boom. Right there, that's the one I was looking for. All right, so watch Mr. Benton here. Slip, and see, very important to note, okay? A lot of people, I saw this a lot. I don't see it as much anymore. Things have kind of changed. I think people are getting better as far as like beginner coaches and boxing enthusiasts and people like that. But you watch George, he bows off to the side for his slip, to the rear side. He does not turn his body with it, all right? I remember so many people talk about, oh, you pivot your lead foot and all this stuff to do a slip to your rear side. No. Because also, too, think about it. You're slipping a jab. What comes after a jab most of the time? A two. So therefore, if you are turning your body, slipping that way, it's going to take your rear hand, which is your counter shot after that, the right hand, like George does, boom, right there. The more you turn with your slip, the more time is going to be for that rear hand to fire and hit them. And while that hand's coming, what's probably coming after the jab? A right hand. So they might beat you to it if you turn on it. Rather, if you do it like George does here, watch. Slip, boom. See? So he doesn't twist away or rotate the body with the slip. He just a little bow to the side, and that's how he's able to land that beautiful right hand. Boom, boom. And, I mean, man, Johnny doesn't even know it's coming. Bam, like that. One more time. Slip, boom. Excellent punch delivery. And that time Johnny jabbed down a little bit for where he's going, and that's one way to take away that counter from somebody. Good defensive work by George Benton there. Catch, roll, block. Catch, roll, block. That's something that a lot of people nowadays, because of Floyd Mayweather utilizing it in certain ways, they don't realize the more classic shoulder roll, which is more of a dip to the side as you roll. Boom, boom. So he drops and rolls a little bit. It hits his shoulder. Now, it's not that drastic, but James Toney, for instance, does this type of move a lot where he doesn't go quite, well, he'll go that deep, but doesn't always quite go that deep. But remember, you don't always need to lean back hard with a shoulder roll. Sometimes you do, sometimes you can, and then it's completely great. But sometimes you can dip off to the side a little bit and shoulder roll same time. And of course, it'd be better if Benton did a counter off of that. That's something that I know when I boxed, I would do, for instance, a move like that where I catch, roll, block, and then just did this, which I wasn't anywhere near, obviously, the level of George Benton, but you need to be practicing things that are going to help you be successful against any type of fighter and habits that you want to repeat 1,000 times. You want to be able to counter back. Good example of Johnny slipping to the inside of that jab. And again, Let's talk real quick, right? It's like I talked about in my boxing myth video, right? Don't slip to the inside of a jab, right? Don't slip to the inside of a jab because you're going to get hit by a right hand. Really? So here we have Jonny Smith, who does get knocked out in this fight, but it's not because he slipped to the inside of a jab. Honestly, I'm sure there's an instance of this happening, right? Like a video you can find of a fighter that this happened to. But it's really funny because the folklore of slipping to the inside of a jab, you get hit by a right hand. I want to see it because, again, I'm sure it's happened, but I'd love to see it because most of the time when someone slips to the inside of a jab, they actually get a pretty good counter off of it. Boom. It seemed like it caught him. Slip to the inside, boom. Remember, on a jab, you can typically slip either way. That was a great example of that shoulder roll that I'm talking about. Okay, so here he caught the jab. It's horrible film, but you can see the glove there. Caught the jab, and it actually grazed the shoulder a little bit. You can tell by the way it connects. Again, horrible film. Boom, boom. Kind of scrapes off, and it's a glancing blow, which is not a clean shot, which is the scoring criteria for boxing. Nice. See that setup? Nice little, very, 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 very quick short hook. In a sense, it's not super wide. Boom. Not meant to be a lot of power. It's just looking to disrupt. Here, boom. That's one thing. So watch the mistake there. See where Johnny's hand is? Reaching out. No good reaching out. You don't need to reach out like that to stop a jab. And that's where that can be gained from someone reaching out. And remember too, when you kind of drop levels like that, watch George, whoop, that's where it looks like, it reads like your hand, for some reason, if you're Johnny, your hand just wants to go out. Your right hand just wants to creep out oftentimes, like you see here, and that's where you get that hook. Also, by the way, too, just to beat a dead horse, let's look at the way that hook is. Hitting with the knuckles, palm facing him, turn it in. It's not a turned over European hook. It's an American hook because we're in America, and those are the best hooks. Bam, like that. That's how you get a long hook. Good little shovel shot there by George. And you see George also uses ring generalship. See, Johnny wants to walk him back to the ropes, but he walks him around, gets back to the center, controls the ring. Short shots in there. Now again, I just want to double, triple down on this because I have to remind so many fighters of this. Look at George Benton. Don't just take my word for it. Look it up. One of the greatest defensive fighters in the history of boxing. Watch him in the corner of Pernell Whitaker. Again, a great fighter as well. And Vander Holyfield, everyone else. See that glove, that right glove? Wide open. When you're a beginner boxer, so many people clench their fists. And I see even people at higher levels sometimes do it. Keep those hands open for defense. Resist punches when you block them and catch them. But keep the hands open. You don't need to be wearing out your forearms. Also, your counters will be a lot faster when you squeeze your hands. When you do defense, it's going to actually slow down because of the tension. You want to have as little tension as possible to stop a punch, block a punch, catch a punch, etc., so that you can deliver your punch quickly as a counter. That was another example of that delayed jab. There's a little bam. See that? Little load, and it makes it hard for Johnny to know the time. Now think about this. He did that delayed jab. Bam. Okay? The feet kind of moved before the jab did. Then watch, he kind of does it again. So you expect another delayed jab, right? I would. But let's see what he does. delayed, boom, bam. 3-2 combination, very quick, and brings his head offline with it. It's a little unclear whether it was just the hook or maybe a little bit grazed of the right hand. Might have been the right hand hitting his jaw. What do you think, guys? Yeah. Regardless, though, catches him with a 3-2. He tried it earlier, did it again, was successful. He wasn't successful the first time, and he was successful this time. And you see Jonny's out cold. So, now let's watch this fight in full with full speed. So now we just went through and analyzed the heck out of it. Let's watch it one more time. Full speed from about here. Now that we saw all the nuances. Let me make sure I'm on full speed here. It's funny watching it that slow. I watched it that slow. Yeah, normal. You feel like you're watching it sped it up when you get used to that speed. All right. Let's watch it full speed. So Benton, again, in that classic boxing stance in the sense that his lead shoulder is forward, allows him to slip. He's bouncing that right hand back and forth, catching and blocking, catching and blocking. If he thinks the jab's coming, it's just a little flick. Because remember, the jab has a few feet to cover. The right hand has a few inches to cover. So that's what makes it more effective defensively. Also, it takes less energy to just swipe across and catch like that versus trying to always move your head like a peekaboo style and whatnot. Bam, bam. Nice. You see the feints there by, a nice slip to the inside. Again, classic example again of, it don't matter which way you slip on that jab. Oh yeah, I want to talk about why you can slip to the inside of a jab and why it's not that much of a problem. So you slip to the inside of a jab. Why is that not a problem? Because jabs are typically straight. If you slip to the inside of a right hand, always, right hands do tend to arc down and curve. All right? So food for thought there. Jabs are straight, so therefore you can really get away slipping either way, and it's a very important and beautiful thing to be able to do. But with a right hand, right hands do tend to arc down. Sometimes people kind of loop them down. So therefore, if you're always slipping to your rear side on a right hand, slipping to the inside of a right hand, the right hand can arc down and hit you while you're on your rear side. Hope that makes sense to you. Beautiful. Nice. Watch how sharp that counter is. Boop, bop, bop. Steps back with that left hook. Again, you see all the little ticks on George as he's reacting defensively. Not overreacting, but reacting. And think about how little commitment he's doing with all of his moves, so therefore, it's hard to exploit. The bigger moves you do, the easier it is to be exploited. Good example of that catch roll. Stepping back a little bit because he felt like he was getting tied into a knot with the feints. That's one concept I love, is the idea of feinting someone into knots, right? Where they're getting tied up with themselves, choked up. And Jonny did a little bit of that. Nice, almost delayed jab by Benton again. Again, that jab catch. Boom, boom. Think about it too, George is looking on imposing his rhythm on this fight. He's fighting on his time and with his timing. That 3-2 attempt, stopped by Jonny. Nice, nice. Catch roll, back to the jab again, utilizing that jab. Again, good fighters don't neglect the jab. Part of any good fighter's arsenal is the jab. Whether it's shot from low guard, there's that quick. Just look how fast that. What? See how fast that is? See, you would have caught that if we didn't watch this whole thing in slow motion. Ba, 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 ba. See, and that's because, mark my words, he practiced that in front of the mirror for hours and hours and hours, flipping his wrist, putting his right hand in front of his face, back and forth like that. That's the only way you get that fast at that and that good at that. It's not something you just, oh man, I just do that when I spar. I just do that when I fight. You got to be doing it in the gym when you practice. Shadow box defense. Not enough people do it. I see more people doing it nowadays, or rather more videos surface of great current champions doing it. So it's great for all of us to see, and it's great for me as a coach to be able to show the people I work with, hey, look at it. It's Earl Spence or it's Andre Ward or whoever doing defense and offense together. while they're shadowboxing, not just shooting punches and moving their feet. Man, nice, beautiful, quick slips. And he can slip that quick. Oh, nice by Jonny again, like we talked about, jabbing down for where George was going. That's a way to stop that. Like I said, too, if I was coaching Jonny on this, I would want for maybe if George slips past the jab, for Jonny to control him with that lead arm, keep him on there and maybe turn or hit him off of it. Nice on 3. That slip with the jab, same time by George. Yeah, and that's one thing to note. Watch when he slips, he's ready with that shoulder. I don't know if you can tell. On that side, shoulder's ready to pop up if it's needed. Beautiful little slips, slipping just enough, about 5-6 inches. Feints as well by Benton, slipping the right hand. Boom, got caught by some of those jabs. Took off some of the steam by leaning back as well. Beautiful catch, roll, block by Benton. Yep, good attempt. Flip to the inside. Nice. 1, 2. You can see how that right hand kind of bounced off Benton. 1, 1, 3. And like I talked about the importance of double jabs. One thing, nice. That look how sharp that was in full speed, right? Bop! I love it. Strive for the same timing for yourself. Walk back, turn. That's one thing with a very slick fighter. Sometimes the idea is to walk him back in the corner and don't give him the opportunity to maneuver as much and whatnot, and rough him up on the inside. That's definitely a good strategy. Here's the knockout. Bop, bop. And it's over. All right, guys. Well, that was the beauty of George Benton. Watch out for the next video, guys. Keep training. This with shadowboxing.